Hey guys, welcome back for another video. What we're going to be doing today is we will be breaking down and predicting our non-top 25 college football matchups for week 6 of the 2024 college football season. This is the non-top 25 games. Yesterday, we did release our top 25 predictions video. If you want to check those out, just go to that video and click on that. But this is the non-top 25 games. These are the teams that were just in the top 25, fell out, trying to get back in, and the other teams that are just on the cusp of making it into the top 25. We are going to fully break down these games, predict the outcome to them, who's going to win, lose, what the final score will be, and we'll also be doing our best bets for each of these games, breaking down the money lines, the spreads, and the over-unders. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments on these games or anything else, drop it below and I will respond. Every week, we go over all of the college football games, and we also do the same thing for every NFL game as well. Every single week, hit that like button, subscribe. Just because these teams aren't top 25 doesn't mean we don't have some good matchups. There's some really good ones coming up. Let's start running through these really quick because there's a lot of them. Kicking things off Friday, October 4th at 7:30 p.m. We have 1-4 Houston. They'll be playing 3-2 TCU. TCU has an 85.2% chance to win this game. 17-point favorites here. The over-under is 50.5. Houston, you definitely see why they're almost 18-point underdogs. They have virtually no offense. Willie Fritz, new coach, new scheme. Had a lot of players transfer out. He's completely rebuilding this team from the floor up, and their offense is awful. They're only averaging 10.4 points a game. They're giving up 20.8. TCU can move the ball. Sonny Dykes and the air raid, they can score, but they give up just as many points. Right now, they're scoring 38.6, 371 through the air, 99.6 on the ground. They're giving up 31 points a game, but they have the playmakers. They have Hoover closing in on 1,800 yards. They have Cook. They have Beck closing in on 700 yards receiving. I have TCU winning this game 38-20, just barely covering that spread, and I'm going with the over. And our next matchup is an in-state rivalry game at 7:45 p.m. We have 3-1 UCF playing 2-2 Florida Gators. Florida at home has a 51.4% chance to win this game, but it's UCF who is the Vegas favorite. 3-point favorites, over-under is 61.5. UCF should be 4-0 right now, but they completely laid an egg last week. Props to Colorado for stomping UCF in UCF. How does Gus Malzahn and squad respond here? We know they have playmakers. KJ Jefferson, RJ Harvey, who's a top 5, top 10 running back in the nation, closing in on 600 yards rushing. They have Hudson at wide receiver. They're averaging 39.5 a game, throwing for 227. Last week, they were averaging 370 rushing. They got beat. That total got dropped, but they're still averaging 326 yards per game on the ground. They're giving up 24.8. That defense looked pretty bad last week versus Colorado. They have to get it better because UF has been playing a lot better as of late, but Billy Napier's feeling the heat. If they don't get a bowl game, he's going to get fired. He can't afford to lose to another in-state rival after losing to Miami. Right now, Florida's averaging 31.8. They're throwing for 288.3. They're running for 145. Their defense is pretty bad. They're giving up 27.3. DJ Lagway, doesn't matter if it's him or the transfer in there. They have Johnson Jr., they have Badger. This is not a bad team. They're able to move the ball, but they still have issues. Mertz, Lagway, doesn't matter. I have UCF winning this one in a really close one, taking it 33-27. That would be going over. That would be going under, but I would have them covering the spread. But this is a potential game where Florida can get the upset. They are at home, and if it turns into a shootout, they could get the last possession and outscore UCF at the end. And this next game is going to be a fun one. This is an ACC matchup at 8 p.m. on Saturday. Undefeated Duke 5-0. Props to Manny Diaz for rebuilding this team in no time. They'll be playing 3-2 Georgia Tech. But don't be fooled by Georgia Tech's record. Georgia Tech has a 67% chance to win this game. They are 9-point favorites. The over-under is 54.5. We know that Duke plays solid defense. That's Manny Diaz's specialty. They had Malik Murphy transfer over from Texas. He's closing in on 1,300 yards. They have Thomas at running back. They have Moore at wide receiver. They're averaging 28.8 points a game. They can throw it. They can run it, playing solid defense, only giving up 16.2 points a game. If they win this game, they will be ranked next week. Georgia Tech can score. They're averaging 33 per game, 276 passing, 163 rushing. They're giving up 20.4 points a game. This was the number one rushing team in the ACC last season. They have King at quarterback. They have Haynes at running back, although he has been pretty banged up. They have Rutherford. This is a good team. They want to rebuild that momentum they had starting out the year. I have Georgia Tech winning this one, but in a close one. 24-20, not covering the spread. I'm going under, but be on the lookout for Duke's defense. They could easily take this game and they could potentially get the upset. Then the next one we're looking at 12 p.m. on Saturday, 1-3 Purdue. They'll be playing 2-2 Wisconsin Badgers coming off of that loss to USC, who they actually controlled the first half of the game, but USC controlled the second half. Miller Moss went off passing the ball. Wisconsin's defense broke, but the Badgers have a 78.1% chance to win this game. 14-point favorites. Over under here is 46.5. Purdue started out the season pretty hot. They've completely fallen off the rails since then. They're averaging 21.8 points a game, but they're giving up 33 points a game. This was supposed to be a defensively focused team. Their head coach was a D coordinator. Their defense is awful. Card, hot open to the season, completely off the rails since then. But Wisconsin, they're in a pretty tough situation right now. Right now, obviously, TVD, he's out for the season. They're averaging 21.5 per game. They're throwing for 190. They're running for 155.5. They got to get the running game going with Malusi. They have to run the ball better. That used to be Wisconsin's bread and butter. Then now they have the air raid. It just has not worked off so far. And they're a pretty banged up team on the offensive side. They're giving up 26.8 points a game. Luke Fickell, you got to get the defense right. Phil Longo, you have to get the offense right. But still, Wisconsin should have enough to be able to control the game on the ground, win this game 30-20. So not covering the spread, but I'm going with the over. The next matchup at 12 p.m. is also an ACC on ACC game. We have 4-1 Boston College trying to get back into the top 25. They'll be playing the Virginia Cavaliers, who sit at 3-1. Props to Virginia. They've come out of nowhere so far this year. Boston College, a 54.8% chance to win this game, but it's actually Virginia who is the Vegas favorite, 1-point favorite. Over-under is 53.5. Looking at these two squads, Boston College started out the season pretty hot, but they've still been playing competitive football. They average 29.8 points a game, 194.8 passing yards, 175.4 rushing yards on the ground. Bill O'Brien has completely flipped this team into an extremely competitive ACC game, playing good offense, playing solid defense. They're giving up 15.8 points a game. They have Thomas Castellanos as the quarterback, the leading ACC rushing quarterback last season, had 1,000 yards rushing. He could potentially get that this season. They can keep the game on the ground, suck up clock. Virginia, pretty good offense. They're averaging 30.3 per game. They're throwing for 173.5. They're running for 195. A pretty good balanced offense. They're giving up 23.5. That's why Virginia is the favorite here at home. Calderera having a great game at the quarterback position. Brown, Fields, they have weapons. I can see Virginia winning this one. Would not be surprised. I'm going to call upset here. I have Boston College's defense leading the way and the ground game, then winning this one 27-21. That spread not being covered, and I'm going with the under. The next one is also an ACC game. A lot of competitive ACC teams this season at 12 p.m. 4-0 undefeated Pitt, props and Arduzzi, and these Panthers here. They'll be playing 3-2 UNC. UNC's completely fallen off the rails. Mac Brown has to get something figured out here. Pitt has a 62.1% chance to win this game. They are 3-point favorites. Over-under is 63.5. This is one of those games where you could see UNC actually surprising and winning this game. You have Pitt playing really, really good offense. They're averaging 48.5 points a game, almost 350 passing yards, almost 200 rushing yards. That's elite numbers right there. Their defense is giving up 25.5. UNC, they're scoring points. Right now they're scoring 34.4, but man, are they giving up a lot of points. They were in like a 70-50 shootout loss 2 weeks ago. They are giving up 27.6 points a game. Their defense seems like they're getting worse every single week. Right now for Pitt, they have Holstein at quarterback closing in on 1,200 yards. They have Reed, they have Mumfield, and on UNC, obviously Max Johnson went down. They have Criswell. They have Hampton at the running back, a top 10 running back in the nation, closing in on 700 rushing yards. If UNC wins this game, it's going to be on the ground running on Pitt. Pitt's defense is average, so there will be opportunities there for the Tar Heels to get some points, but I have Pitt and that passing attack getting them the win here. Then winning this one 37-27, covering the spread, and I'm just barely going over. Then another ACC game at 12 p.m. 1-3 Wake Forest playing 3-2 NC State, who has been a bit of a letdown this season, but obviously they've had a lot of injuries, especially at the quarterback position with Grayson McCall having gone down. Wake Forest are averaging 29.8 points a game. They're passing the ball extremely well, closing on 324 passing yards, 150 rushing yards, but their defense is pretty bad. They're giving up 31.3. That's what NC State needs. They need a bad defense. They need to get the offense back on track, especially the run game. Right now, NC State, they're averaging 27.4, 210 through the air, 127 on the ground. But their defense, this is supposed to be NC State's specialty, is their defense, their defensive line, their run game. They're lacking in all of them. They're giving up 33.6 points a game. This game, because the defenses are both awful, could go either way because it could easily turn into a shootout. Shootout means whoever has the ball last could potentially win the game. I'm going to go with that being NC State, then winning this one 28-24. Not covering the spread, but I'm going with the under. The next game is not an ACC game, I promise. We have the Service Academies at 12 p.m. 4-0 Navy versus 1-3 Air Force. Right now, Navy has a 70.9% chance to win this game. They are 10-point favorites, a low over-under here at 34.5. This is usually a triple option on triple option, but we have Navy passing the ball this season. They are lighting things up. They're averaging 46 points a game, 184 through the air, 287.3 on the ground. That's really good play for a Service Academy team. They're giving up 23.5 points a game. And for Air Force, they are running the triple option. They average 12.5 a game. That's pretty bad. 71 passing yards, 177 rushing yards. Their defense is giving up 21.3. I have this being a lower scoring game. The trenches deciding the game. It's going to be a run-heavy focused team. I have Navy winning this one 30-17, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over. And then at 12 p.m., another Service Academy game, 4-0 Army versus 2-3 Tulsa Army, a 77.1% chance to win this game. They are 11-point favorites. The over-under here is 50.5 Army. They average 36.3. They run the triple option, 73.3 passing yards, 371.3 rushing yards, one of the top 5 rushing teams in the nation. They're going to run your throat. They're going to do it slow. They're probably going to have the ball for 30 to 35 minutes of this game, just sucking up clock. They're giving up 10.5 points a game. Tulsa, they score 27.8 points a game. They throw for 238. They run for 187. They're giving up 34.6. Their defense is pathetic. They're giving up 130 rushing yards, but there could be some opportunities for Army to actually throw the ball here because Tulsa's secondary is pathetic. They're giving up just under 300 pass yards per game, but Tulsa could easily win this game. So this is one of those group on 5 games. I could see the upset here. I could see Tulsa taking this game, but I'm just going to go with Army not covering that spread. But I have them winning this one 27-17, not covering the spread, going with the under. Then at 1 p.m., we have 3-2 Tulane, Willie Fritz's old school versus 1-3 UAB. Tulane has an 86.4% chance to win this game. 14.5-point favorites. Over-unders 55.5. Don't sleep on Tulane and their 3-2 record. Those 2 losses were actually to top 25 teams, so this team is a lot better than their record shows. They had to completely rebuild the roster through the portal. Still a really good team. They're averaging 36.8, 242.4 pass yards a game, just under 200 rushing yards a game. Solid defense, giving up 22.2. They'll be playing UAB, who's averaging 23 a game. They're giving up 28.3. The key here is Mensa at the quarterback position for Tulane. Just under 1,200 yards. The guy can throw it. He can run it. They have Hughes at running back, closing in on 500 yards. They have Williams at wide receiver, closing in on 500 yards. UAB gives up 204 rush yards a game, and Tulane already runs for 200 yards per game. They will be able to run all up and down UAB. I have Tulane pulling this one out, winning this one 38-23, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over. And our next one, you knew it was going to happen. Another ACC on ACC matchup at 3:30 p.m. We have 2-3 Virginia Tech, who's coming off of a really solid performance, a loss versus Miami. They kept it close. They lost at the end on that Hail Mary. Sorry, guys. I did think that was an incomplete pass, and that's the way that it was ultimately ruled. They'll be playing 2-2 Stanford. Virginia Tech, the favorite here, 59.4% chance to win this game. They are 8-point favorites. The over-under is 49.5. Virginia Tech has a solid offense. They're averaging 30.4 points a game, throwing for 204.4, running for 192.2. Very balanced on offense. Their defense is giving up 25.8. They have drones at quarterback. The guy can throw it. He can run it. But Tootin is the key, closing in on 600 yards running the ball, and they have Lane at wide receiver. Tootin is the guy that everything runs through. If he has a good game, Virginia Tech will have a good day. Stanford, though, surprisingly, they've actually been pretty decent this season. If Virginia Tech has a letdown from that Miami loss, Stanford will surprise them. They will upset them. Daniels at the quarterback position runs, throws, but he does have a lot of turnovers. They average 27. They're giving up 26.3, but their pass defense gives up 301.3 yards per game through the air, one of the worst secondaries in the country. I have Virginia Tech winning this game 30-23, not covering the spread. I am going with the over, but like I said, it all relies on Tootin at the running back position. This next one's Big Ten on Big Ten, and this is a really tough game. I'm split on this game 50-50. At 4 p.m., you have 4-0 Rutgers versus 4-1 Nebraska. Nebraska, 66% chance to win this game. They are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 41.5. Even though Nebraska is almost 7-point underdogs, I could see Nebraska winning this game 50% of the time. They average 35 points a game. They throw for 297. They run for 238 yards per game. We know they can run the ball with Menage. He's closing in on 600 rushing yards. They're going to line up in the eye. They're going to get tough. This is a Greg Schiano team. This is an NFL coach on NFL coach game. Schiano versus Matt Rule. Solid defense, giving up 16.3 points a game. But Nebraska, they have Dylan Raiola, who's actually having a pretty good freshman season. The guy's young. Matt Rule is building a team from the foundation, from the ground up, getting Cornhuskers fans excited for the future. Whoever wins this game will be ranked next week. Count on that. They're averaging 30.8 points per game, throwing for 270, running for 145. Elite defenses on both sides. They only give up 12.2 per game. Their strength is their rush defense, only giving up 85 yards a game. That's their strength, is their D-line. That's versus Rutgers' strength, which is their running game, almost 240. Who's going to win in the trenches? I have Nebraska winning this one 24-20. Not covering the spread, going with the over. But like I said, this game is practically a 50-50 because it's strength on strength. Who's going to prevail? The next matchup is going to bring us some Big 12 football. West Virginia 2-2 at 4 p.m. versus 3-2 Oklahoma State. Both of these teams a little bit of a letdown this season. Neil Brown's team won 9 games last season. He was on the hot seat last year, won 9 games. His seat was cooled off. This season, they have not lived up to expectations, but neither has Oklahoma State, especially on the running side. Right now, they have a 65.4% chance to win this game. They are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under 65.5. This game could easily turn into a shootout. West Virginia, they average 31.8. They throw for almost 240. They run for 182. On defense, they're giving up 28.5. Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy, the second longest tenured coach in the nation. They're averaging 33.4, throwing for 322, running for 102. That's the issue. Last season, Ollie Gordon, the Doak Award winner, 1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns. They're not using him at all. They should be led by their offensive line and their run game. That has not panned out this season. They're giving up 25 points a game. They got to get Ollie Gordon going. This game is practically a 50-50. Both teams are in similar positions. Both coaches need this win. I'm going to go with Mike Gundy making the difference here. Oklahoma State winning this one 31-24, covering the spread, but I'm going with the under. And the next matchup we're looking at 6:30 p.m., 2-2 Colorado State versus 3-1 Oregon State. These guys are trying to get back in the same conference next season, but Oregon State, obviously, they're sitting in the floundered Pac-12 as of right now for this season. Right now, Oregon State has an 87.6% chance to win this game. They are 11-point favorites, over-unders 47.5. Colorado State comes in. They're averaging 18.5 a game. Their strength is their rushing game, averaging almost 175. They're giving up 28.5. Oregon State, even with the pieces they lost from last season, they lost DJU, although he's pretty bad. They lost Damian Martinez. They're still averaging 27.8, 162 through the air, 268 on the ground. They love to run the ball. They're giving up 21.3 points a game. They are going to be led by Griffin at the running back position. Look for them to line up, run it down Colorado State's throat. I have Oregon State winning this one 27-20, not covering the spread, and I'm going with the under. 8 p.m. we have 1-4 Kansas. What a disaster and a massive letdown they are. Started out the season ranked in the top 25. A lot of people had them predicted to be the best offense in the Big 12 to potentially win the Big 12. They've gone nowhere near that. They'll be playing Arizona State, one of the surprise teams at 3-1. Arizona State, 56.9% chance to win this game. They are the 3-point favorites. Over under is 50.5. Kansas should be a lot better. Great coaching staff. They have the players. Daniels was finally healthy this season at the quarterback position. He's healthy, and he's turning in the worst performance that he possibly could have. They're averaging 28 a game, 180 passing, 226 on the ground. They're giving up 23.8 points a game. Arizona State, they average 32.8. They pass for 227. They run for 196. They're giving up 22. I have to believe at some point Kansas gets competitive. It just has to happen. I'm going Kansas here to get the upset win. I think Neal and Daniels get going. Neal's a top 10 running back. He can run, but Daniels is just awful throwing the ball this season. But I think they actually put together a good game. They win this one 28-24, spread not being covered, and I'm going with the over. The next game we're looking at 11 p.m., we have 4-1 Texas Tech. They'll be playing 3-1 Arizona. Arizona's the favorite here, 58.2% chance to win this game. 6-point favorite, 3.5. I have this game turning into a shootout. Texas Tech, they can score the ball. They average 41.6 a game. They throw for 312.6. They run for 181. They can pass. They can run. But their defense is pathetic. They're giving up 34.4 points a game. Arizona, they have Fafita. They have McMillan. Outside of that, they don't have much, but they're riding high right now, coming off of that win versus Utah. They average 28.3 per game. They throw for 270. They run for 153. They're giving up 22.5. They do give up 210 through the air. Look for Texas Tech. They're going to run the air raid, but it's an air raid where they also run the ball. Morton closing in on 1,500 yards passing. He has 14 touchdowns and only 2 picks. They're lighting it up, and they have Taj Brooks at the running back, a top 10 running back. They're going to run on Arizona, which is going to open up that passing game. Morton to Kelly. I have Texas Tech getting the upset win here, 40-30. I have that spread not getting covered, and I'm going with the over. So that's our breakdown of our non-top 25 Week 6